Welcome to another Big Daddy D project adventure. Today we're going to make some accessories for the ceiling lift that we made last time for my canoe. Previously I had just a couple of ropes wrapped around it, and then the ropes attached to that main lifting beam. Felt like I could do better, so what I did this time is I upgraded that bar to put some crossbars in, and then attached webbing to the end of those crossbars for this canoe. And then the other upgrade we're going to do today is we're going to make an extension for that drill, so we don't have to climb up on a ladder to engage that worm gear winch. Well, let's get chopping some steel. First thing we got here is the extension bar. I ended up using a little piece of, I think it was 1/2 by 1/2 square tubing. I chose that 1/2 by 1/2 square tubing because the 3/8 eye bolt that is on that worm gear fits inside of it. And then for the crossbars, I just went with some 1-inch square tubing. Had some of that in the shop. I think it's 16 gauge wall. Not real thick, but again, the load on the kayak is only about 50 pounds, and this is way overkill. Probably could have just used a piece of wood, but figured everything else was steel. I'll go ahead and make this steel too. So there you go. All right, let's get welding. First thing up here is on that extension bar. Is the eye bolt, welding the eye bolt to that extension. What I did here is I also threaded a nut on it. When I first tried to get the eye bolt to go into the end of that square tubing, it was a little sloppy, but having that shoulder of that nut on there allowed me to get it to be pretty square with the rod. I didn't want it to do, I want it to be aligned with the rod. Then after I welded the nut to the extension rod, then I went ahead and just put one tack up on the threaded part so it wouldn't spin in that nut. For the other end, I just found a piece of 3/8 rod and put it in the end, crimped it a little bit in the vise, and welded it in. The reason why I went with the 3/8 on the other end is, one, it fit, but also I'm going to use a 3/8 cordless drill to operate the ceiling winch. Well, the only thing left is to clean up those gnarly little welds that I just put on there, and so I didn't have any sharp edges up there. And then extension rod is done. We'll have to go test it out towards the end of this video. Well, for making the crossbar accessories, pretty straightforward. We just take the square tubing that we just cut, and then we're going to go ahead and drill a hole in each end where we're going to hook the webbing to, and then we're going to put another hole right in the center of it. And then that's where we're going to go ahead and bolt it to the main beam. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy accessory, and I think it'll help out a lot. All right, just a quick deburr with my angle grinder with a flap disc on it, and we should be ready to go. All right, it's assembly time. I did want to point out here, you can see how much the canoe was sitting below that main beam. I guess it was about a 1.5 feet below that main beam. These crossbars should allow that canoe to suck up right up against that beam. I also changed the design a little bit just because it was easier to assemble. I put the square tubing, the crossbars, above the main beam rather than hanging below it. But that was mainly because at the time it was easier to set the bar on top, put the bolt in from the bottom. And then I also used nylock nuts here, so I'm not going to worry about those things coming out. But also won't be pulling this canoe up and down a whole lot. At most, I use it a few times every season, but I think it'll work pretty good. All right, well, attaching it actually was pretty easy. Again, I had holes in the end of those bars. I just ended up using a set of ratchet straps. I guess if I was going to dedicate these straps to it, I could have just cut some straps to be the right length and just kind of made a hook on it, but worked out pretty good. Did put one at either end. I am going to go ahead and add a center one here. Again, it's not needed, but again, I used to be an old rock climber, and you always like 3 points of contact, so I'm just adding an extra one here in the middle just in case I have any issues with these little straps. These are basically the cheapest straps I could find at Harbor Freight or something like that. So, but yeah, strapped up pretty easy. I was able to get that main beam right at the top of the canoe, so it's pretty good. All right, let's winch this thing to the ceiling with our new extension. And I would say that the extension works great. Didn't have to climb up on the ladder at all. And then these crossbars allowed me to suck that canoe right up to that main beam. So I'd say that's a success also. Did want to probably walk through some more design details and maybe some other accessories. Thanks for watching today, and if you care to hear a little bit more about it, then stick around. If not, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of these project adventures, just hit the subscribe button. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye. All right, here is a bonus section, kind of a walkthrough of the whole system, and then I also have some bonus accessories that I'm thinking about making for future implementations of this beam. All right, I just want to have a little design time. Originally what I had is I just had the straps come up here to the center bar and I had a little loop on it, and that worked great, but I just felt like having a crossbar on this one where I could ratchet it from the edges is going to be better. Then I used to be a climber, so I always like 3 points of attachment just in case. So this is more of a backup. I don't think it's needed, but it just gives me a peace of mind since I'm lifting it overhead. And again, it's just a backup. In case one or the other breaks, this one will help it. But and then again, I got another bar at this end. Again, just ratchet strap underneath, kind of tighten it up, snug it down on the canoe here. Key here is that I wanted to make sure that this bar wasn't up on the end of the kayak. And then up here, again, just use the garage pulleys. You know, they're made for garage door openers. And then put one at each end. If you see here, I'll zoom in on that. Again, have the cable coming off of this split pulley winch. One cable lines up with one pulley down here, and then one cable lines up with that pulley down there. So, and then I just made the brackets and spaced it out, you know, here. So anyway, that's overall kind of design. And then this is an eye bolt on a long rod. It's hooked to my drill, and still need to work on this end of the drill bit. I put flat spots on it and probably messed it up when I did that. Probably need to round it out just so it'll be a little bit smoother when it twists. Tried to create some flat spots on it, and I think that was the wrong way to go. So anyway, but you know, it works. It lifts it up. It holds it up. I did a test the other night with the temporary system, and you know, it held it for a couple of days and didn't even budge, didn't even move at all. So I think I have a successful little thing here. Again, looked all over the internet, found a number of different, you know, garage lift kind of things, but this one seemed most simplistic for what I needed. And again, the winch is rated for, you know, 500 or 800 pounds and maybe even 1,000. I'm not sure. I need to look it up. I'll post that. And then the kayak only weighs, you know, 40 or 50 pounds. So I think I'm pretty good here. So might use it for another kind of winch in the future, but for now, I think this will work. So other upgrades I was thinking of is, since you have that main beam, really you could attach most anything to it. So what I came up with was a bunch of different options to attach things to it. So the first two on the page are the option one that I had already done, with where I just run a strap around it and attach it to that main beam. Then option two was use the crossbars, kind of help to spread that load out and, you know, suck those items up closer to it. And thinking about the slings, if we go down from here on the left, a single strap, you can also strap instead of a canoe. I could just wrap it around a kayak. And then I said, well, you know, if I could run the sling around one kayak, there's nothing keeping me from putting multiple kayaks there. Now, they would most likely, you know, be on edge, and they would kind of nestle up against each other. might get to be a pretty big load there. But again, that's another option where you're just doing a sling. And both of those would also work with the crossbars. Again, the crossbars would just make it so that the attachment points are a little further out. Then another option here is you can run one kayak up near the top and then just sling another one below it if you had the headspace there. Where you're lifting it up, as long as you have it high enough to, or you have enough ceiling height to allow for that. Then I got a little bit more intricate. The next one I came up with is, come up with like a kayak tree. I've seen this on some car toppers where, they just have two kayaks back to back. I was like, well, I could just make a bar that attached to my main beam and then just had a little J hook on either side and then throw a strap around those. That's another option. And then again, just kind of a combo, again, the back-to-back J hook, but then also throw a third one in a sling below it. Another option would be make a platform. Now on the platform, I wouldn't want to run a sling all the way around it because there would be nothing keeping the platform from just rotating 90 degrees and dumping your stuff off. But if you had a individual cable that went down from the main beam down to each corner of your platform, again, you could also put a platform up there and then a winch, use this main beam to winch it up too. So again, hopefully those are some options to consider. Again, I'm thinking now that this might be a pretty flexible system, and I look forward to probably making a different accessory and another beam in the future. Yeah, if I made a beam, my next beam will probably end up being a piece of 2-inch square tubing for the main winch beam. And then I think the pulleys are okay. Each one of them has a rating of 200 pounds for garage doors. Probably stick with those again, but maybe make the brackets that hold the pulley a little tighter to the pulley body so that bolt that supports them doesn't have as much bending on it. Right now the supports are out 3 inches off the center of that pulley, so that bolt takes a lot of bending. Whereas if I make the brackets right next to the pulley, then the bolt will be mainly in shear, so that'll be a little bit stronger. I'm trying to think of the other upgrade I would probably do is I really don't want to make this thing too heavy duty because I'm still attaching it to the ceiling and I don't want to load my ceiling up to where it'll fail, or for that matter, having a really heavy loads overhead. I think, if I can keep it under that 150 pound rating, I probably feel pretty comfortable with what I've got. So anyway, hopefully all of these options help. And this extra, design discussion here at the end of this video was a benefit to you. Like always, if you like what you saw today, give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to go on more workshop project adventures with me, hit the subscribe button. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye. And thanks for staying to the end and getting the extra bonus.